St. Croix feels like home wherever you are. We are such a tight-knit community. Our culture binds us, our history binds us, and most certainly so does our food. When it comes to St. Croix, people don't visit just to skim the surface. People take the deep dive approach into our vibe because it's truly like no other. During the Christmas seasons, our land transforms into the cultural epicenter of the Caribbean with the Crucian Christmas Festival. We've moved to a virtual gathering to continue to spread our vibe. I'm Chef Lamar, and this is the virtual Crucian Culinary Showcase. Good day, guys. My name is Chef Lamar Bough. I'm here for the Crucian Culinary Showcase. Today we have a great dish today. It's called Maufe. A lot of you might not know about Maufe because it's an old Virgin Island recipe. Maufe has a few ingredients. What we have in front of me, we have some onions, celery, garlic, thyme, seasoned pepper, recao. Meats, we would have salted pork, salt beef, and also fish head or fish stock. Also, it's thickened with cornmeal. That is the addition of the Maufe that makes it pretty unique. It's important to keep old dishes alive in the Virgin Islands because you really just want to pass tradition down, right? You don't want that to just be something of the past. You really want to bring the past into the future. I learned about the dish Maufe through a family member. I actually was inquiring about old dishes, and one day they told me about this dish called Maufe. Instantly I was intrigued. I learned how to prepare and make a dish through a great aunt of mine. So again, that recipe came from a family member and then passed down to me. All right, so the steps of making this Maufe is important. You don't want to skip any steps. First step is soaking your salt pig or your pigtail, and also soaking your salt beef. You want to soak it for over 24 hours, and what that would do is render the salt out of the meat. If you don't do this, you would have an oversaturated soup. This stuff is cured in heavy salt. The next step you would want to do is create a fish stock. A fish stock is created by using the head of the fish or the carcass of the fish. What's important is making it overnight, because if you sit in the refrigerator, the fish stock will become gelatinous. The reason it's gelatinous is from the collagen in the fish bone. And that's important for it to set and use in the morning once it's in a gelatin form. This dish is very important to keep it in a certain sequence. Number one, you're dealing with a lot of different components that require different cooking techniques. Timing of the meat might be different. The fish might vary from the beef might vary from the pork. So again, it's important to just layer the food and build as much flavor as possible without overcooking or undercooking certain ingredients. So now the next step in making the Maufe. So one of the most important steps again is you add some water to the cornmeal. The reason is you don't want to just put the cornmeal straight into the hot water because it would instantly make dumplings. So it's important to first wet the cornmeal, and what this would allow is when it goes into the broth, it would slowly kind of thicken it instead of just pouring it straight in. I would say it's close to like making a roux or like creating a slurry. Same concept, right? So again, you're just incorporating some water into the cornmeal, and the consistency should just be like thick but not clumpy, still liquidy, unable to, you know, just pour into the hot liquid. All right. So the next step is you get your olive oil and you put it into your already hot pot, and then we're gonna add our mirepoix or chopped veggies, right? With the celery, the onions, the garlic, the recao, the seasoned pepper, and the thyme. So this is just called sweating the vegetables, right? We want to add flavor to our soup. It's important that you layer your soup. You just don't want to throw everything into the pot just like that. So again, we just build in some flavor. So by sweating the vegetables, you don't want to brown it, just enough that it's transparent or translucent is the word I would like to use. the moisture from the vegetables is gonna start to like sweat, literally. That's what we say, like you sweat the vegetables. All the oils, everything will kind of come out of the garlic and so on. When I heard about the dish Maufe, it gave me some vibe like callaloo a little bit, right? And I was like, wow, there's another soup out there like callaloo within our culture that I never see. You know, you always hear about callaloo and all the other fish soups and chicken soup and chicken and dumpling, but this Maufe was just like, what is that? You know, how is it made? They're using almost familiar ingredients like cornmeal and the pig's tail and the fish, corned beef. All of these stuff are familiar, but I've never had it in that combination such as Maufe. So again, the dish was just very intriguing for me. We made the stock yesterday. What we're gonna do now is remove the meat from the head of the fish. The reason why you don't want the fine bones in the soup, so you know, you want it just as refined as possible. So we're just gonna take the meat off and keep it to the side when we're adding in the rest ingredients such as the pigtail and the corned beef. Now that we added the stock to the mirepoix, now it's time for it to get it up to a boil or a simmer, and then we're gonna add in our cured pigtail and cured beef, which was soaked overnight to render out as much salt as possible. So we're just gonna add the pigtail first, and then we're gonna add the salted beef or corned beef. The last step, the last meat you want to add is the fish. Again, because the corned beef and the pigtail is going to cook, going to take a much longer time to prepare than the fish, because the fish had already simmered from the night before. So it's pretty much just for flavor and texture. For texture, you want it to not fall all the way apart. You actually want to have a little bit of bite of fish, some pigtail, and also the salted beef. So as the culinary scene is evolving within the territory and just around the world, we keep this stuff going by introducing foods such as Maufe into our culture, right? We have ag fair or an our food fair, or just in different events that we may have around the island or the territory. So you don't want those dishes to just totally be forgotten. You really want to keep it going by introducing it again in our cultural atmosphere. Okay, so the next step in this process, we've already added the fish stock, we've added the pigtail and the corned beef. We added that, we simmered it down for about 45 minutes, just until the meat is tender. Now we're going to start to add the thickening agent, which would be, in this case, cornmeal. Again, we added water to the cornmeal in the beginning, and this will prevent it from clumping immediately once it hits the hot liquid. It's important that we add our cornmeal slowly to the dish so that we can prevent it from clumping, right? You don't want to just throw it in there. What's going to happen is going to turn into dumplings if we just throw it in and just leave it. You have to constantly keep stirring the pot on a medium heat. And again, adding the water to the cornmeal in the beginning will help with the clumping or prevention of it clumping together. You just want it to thicken the soup. You don't want to make dumplings. So you just slowly just incorporate the cornmeal. And you'll notice that the soup would instantly start to get noticeably thicker as you keep stirring the cornmeal into the hot liquid. Tomato paste really is not one of the most important steps, but what it is it adds some coloring to the dish, right? It makes it a little bit more appealing for the eye. Of course, people eat with their eyes, right? We're here in the last stages of the Maufe. Right now we're just gonna add the fish back to the pot. The fish meat came from the stock that we made the day before. Remember, you gotta make your stock from the day before. So once it was cooled, we removed the meat, and then we're saving it to put into the Maufe last. The reason we're putting it last is because if you was to put the fish in early at the same time as the pigtail and also the salted beef, what would happen is the fish meat would just totally disintegrate. So because we want a little bite, you want to taste the pigtail and the salted beef as well as the fish, you would have to cook everything, like I said, in different time. The fish being the most delicate meat, we'll put it in last. At this point, the cornmeal is already thickened the base of the soup, and we're just gonna go ahead and now add the fish meat back to the soup, the Maufe. So we're gonna give it, you know, just a little stir, and now the last and final part of the dish is we're adding tomato sauce or tomato paste. Maybe even if you want to use fresh tomatoes, you can, but this is the way I was taught by a Crucian, right? You use the tomato sauce, and the tomato sauce is used mainly for color purposes. You don't want to overpower the dish with tomato sauce or paste to give it a tomato taste, because in no way, shape, or form this is a tomato-based soup. This is a fish broth with pigtail and beef, and like I said, the tomato is just for coloring purposes. So we're just going to add it into the pot, give it a stir, and turn down the pot to a low heat. You just want to simmer, and you should be stirring the pot constantly. Like I said, the texture of it should be silky and smooth and rich. It should coat, you know, kind of be viscous enough that it should be thick. I mean, not like a cream-based soup, but thick enough that it's a hearty based soup. Again, all the meat should be tender and falling off the bone, and it will be just a great soup to enjoy during your festive times. Now I'm just gonna plate it so you guys can have an idea as to what it looks like, and hopefully you found it educational and you guys could follow this recipe. So here it is, our Crucian Maufe. This dish here, I mean, you could Google and Google as much as you can. I don't think that you're gonna find it online. So here's the step process to making our Maufe. I hope you guys enjoy our festive time and a nice bowl of Crucian Maufe.